Yo, what up, people? This is the scientist of sound, Kwame, and you are keeping it locked right here on YouKnowIGotSoul.com.
Alright, so Kwame, talk about how you originally, met Loriana May and met her, kind of found her, and what it's been like working with her.
Well, how I met Loriana May, it was crazy. She was running with another label at the time, and they brought her to me, and she didn't really have a sound. Her sound wasn't really developed yet, and she came in and she looked at me and she was like, okay, what's this guy got to offer? So we just started talking about what her influence was and who her influence was. And the first person she brought up was an artist named Ruth Brown. And I said, you like Ruth Brown? She's like, yeah. I said, check this out. And I played this Ruth Brown record that I did, like a sample, a Ruth Brown inspired sample. And she was like, damn, you get down like that? And I was like, yeah, because there was this whole sound, this whole jazz, hip hop, swing, bebop era in my mind, and the stuff that I was producing, but I had nobody to give it to. So when I first played that Ruth Brown type record, she was like, damn, this shit is crazy. And then I kept playing more records and more records, and she was like, you know what? This is everything that I've been looking for. And me hearing her, I was like, yo, you're everything that I've been looking for. This matches. So we just started immediately making records. And the situation she was with dissolved, and it was crazy because everybody who was down with her when she had that situation disappeared.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was me and her.
Yeah.
Me and her and a handful of other people, and we just started rocking out. And we started building on the sound. Like the first record we cut was a record that she performed that's on a Love Made EP called Love. That was the first record we cut. And we started building from that sound. And everything fell into place. It was like how we dress, how we carry ourselves when we're out. We represent that sound. And like tonight, it was a culmination of 2 years of hard work and creating that vibe for other producers to follow suit, other writers to follow suit. But it was based on the stuff that we started summer of what, 2010.
Yeah. And what's music fans' reactions been to the sound you've been creating with her, crafting with her for these past couple of years? Like, it's totally unique.
It's funny, like, for lack of a better term, people hear and they go, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It's like, is it R&B? Is it hip hop? Is it what? And it's like, we're not trying to be any of that. I want to give people, musically, I want to give people that feeling that people heard when they first heard like a Ray Charles, or when they first heard Etta James. It's like, yo, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And hopefully give you an alternative to a lot of the sounds that you hear that's out now. Because for the most part, nothing against the sounds that you hear now, but a lot of people just follow suit. They just follow each other, and it's a circular motion that you hear in a lot of music. So for us, we just want to feel like we're hearing stuff new, like we're doing something new and feeling brand new in the studio.
Yeah.
And it's not like where you have certain artists that do, I call it Renaissance music. They make music like, we want to make it sound like the 60s, or we want to make it sound like the 70s. We're not trying to recreate those times.
Yeah.
But we're trying to infuse the soul of a certain time period from the 40s to the 60s into into hip hop, into something that bangs out. Like, you're not going to really hear, like, say for example, Amy Winehouse type record with 808 smacking you in the head. You're not going to hear that. You're not going to hear scratches. You're going to. So we're trying to put all of that together, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of this.
Talk about yourself as a producer, because I know you started out as a hip hop artist yourself, transitioned into production. How was that transition for you?
Well, for me, I started out in 1989. I was 16 years old. Myself, I was also signed to Atlantic Records. Did pretty well as a hip hop artist, but my style of music pretty much got played out. And the 90s came along, and it was a harder edge style of music, and I was left with the choice of saying, well, I can either do two things. I could become an old school rapper and a statistic, or do what I feel like I'm supposed to do, and that's music, and that's hip hop, and that's any type of form of hip hop. So, it took some years, and people were really checking for me at some time, but then I just started getting placements after a while. Started in 2000. Started getting placements. Got Mary J. Blige, and then LL Cool J. Then from LL Cool J, groups like Drew Hill. Then from Drew Hill, groups like went from like Chingy to then Lloyd Banks with On Fire, and then people started taking notice of Lloyd Banks On Fire, and then did a #1 pop record for Will Smith called Switch, and then from switching, Will Smith did records for Christina Aguilera and the Pussycat Dolls and Keisha Cole and underground records for Talib Kweli. Then started doing movie scores. You know, got nominated for an Emmy for a movie that I did on HBO called Dancing in September, and then did music for Drumline, Stomp the Yard, Fantastic for a whole host of different movies, Step Up 1, Step Up 2, and just holding my craft, because at the end of the day I want people to know me as a musician. You know, I don't want to be, you know, people know me as a rapper, people know me as a hip hop producer, but then you have people that know me as an R&B producer, that know me as a pop producer, and I just want to make sure that I cover all genres, and I'm trying to bring that all to a head and to a peak with this sound that I developed for Loriana May. You know, I'm very passionate about it, and very passionate about what I do.
Yeah. Okay. You actually had a hand in producing a personal favorite of mine, that's Tweet's "Turn the Lights On."
Yes.
What do you remember most about making, you know, working on that song?
Turn the Lights Off was weird, because when I produced that record, I remember exactly, you know, there's certain special records that you remember where you are, what you were doing at that exact moment. And I lived in this 1-bedroom, 6th floor walk up in Harlem. And I was, you know, trying to get back on my feet. And I was making this beat, and I was banging the shit out of this beat. In this newly refabbed apartment, so the walls were real thin. And I'm beating this beat up, I'm making the joint, and I remember my next door neighbor, his name was Wilson. He came knocking on the boom, 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 boom. This is Wilson! That beat is hot, but it's shaking the fucking pictures off my wall! Turn that shit down! And I'm like, alright, I just gotta finish this joint. And it was funny, I sent it out to so many people. So many people wanted that beat. I remember Styles P did a record off of that beat. 50 did a record off of that beat. I can't remember who else, but a bunch of people did a record off of that beat. I think Jay-Z did a record off that beat, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
It was either that beat. We did a couple of records that just never came out. I think that was one of the records. And then I got a call from Missy, and she hit me. She was like, "Yo, I just made the craziest record off of that beat." I said, "Oh, so let me know when you want me to go to the studio and track it out and lay it down." She was like, "Nah, kid, we using that shit right off the CD. That shit was never mixed down. It was never laid out. It was never mastered like that. It was from my CD to Tweet's vocals to the mastering lab." And that was when I knew that I kind of had something going, because I was making these records, putting them straight on CD, not going through all the motions of tracking out and doing all these multi-track, and people were just taking records. Another record like that was this record that I did for Fantasia called Not the Way That I Do. And that record was straight off the CD, and a lot of records have come out that way. So, you know, shouts to Wilson for giving me the okay that my beat was hot. Sorry for knocking your pictures off the wall, homie. Hope you got some new pictures on the wall. I'm not there no more, so you know, give you some peace.
That's cool. And one more song if I could, and that's JoJo's Breezy.
Breezy.
What do you remember about that one?
Breezy was so crazy, because that was another record. Breezy was originally a record that Dipset did.
Wow.
I got a Dipset version to that. And when JoJo got a hold of it, I played it for Vince Herbert, who everybody knows now is Lady Gaga's manager. Great producer, great guy, and I played it for JoJo and Vince Herbert. And JoJo had to have been 12 years old. And she's in the studio spazzing out. Like, this is my joint. And to see this little girl, like, if you listen to the lyrics, them joints are like raps. and this little girl was knocking them out, hitting those runs, and it was just incredible to see that little girl knock that record out. And to me, that's one of my favorite records. I love that record. You know, I have a, and I'm not plugging anything, but I have a mixtape called Scientist of Sound that chronicles all the records that I did from 2000 up to 2010. And that mixtape rings out, opens up with Breezy. And so it's like, you know, that record is special to me.
Cool. Anything you'd like to add? You want to talk about what you're currently working on other than Loriana? Or?
Yeah. Currently, the name of my quote unquote movement is called Make Noise. I guess I'm like the band leader. I'm like the hip hop Duke Ellington of the thing. The first artist that's coming with this sound is Loriana May. We have another artist, a male rapper out of Queens, Rockaway, Queens, named Beyond Belief, working on his project now. He's going to be another artist that has that sound, and I can loosely say that I'm working on a project, but it's more of a project that's showcasing that sound. Like when I do these live shows and when I get on stage, you know, I'll be on stage with these artists. I'll be on stage with my 4-piece horn set, my drummer, my keyboard, my string section, my upright bass player, me on my MPC, and my contraptions that I come up with in the studio. And we're just trying to bring you a new sound, man. We're just trying to make things thump the way we feel like they should be thumping. So, you know, look out for that. Look out for that now.